down the tree and chop off its branches, strip its foliage and scatter its fruit. Let the animals flee from beneath it and the birds from its branches, but leave its stump and roots in the ground with a band of iron and bronze and the tender grass of the field. Let him be bathed with the dew of honey, and let his lot be with the animals of the field and the grass of the earth, and let his mind be changed from that of a man unto a beast. And let 7 times pass over him. The sentence is rendered by decree of the watchers. The decision is given by the order of the holy ones, in order that all who live may know that the Most High is sovereign over the kingdom of mortals. He gives it to whom he will, and he sets over in the lowliest of human beings. He gives the kingdom to whoever he wants. No matter how great you think things are, no matter how strong the tree is, when it's told to be cut down to the ground, there's a reason. But the root is still there. So buckle up. Hello, my friends. Jacob Israel is here once again. Thank you for joining me. I'm so happy that you're here because I want to add a little bit of levity and I want to comfort your souls. Right? There's so much out there right now. Got so many people so concerned. Everybody's frantic. Everybody's acting a little bananas. Everybody's nuts. They're freaking out. Everybody's freaking out. But it's going to be okay. You're going to see. Because if you take the advice from, we'll say, the Spirit of the living God, and you are led by that Spirit, you're going to be okay. The people that aren't going to live for love and truth and peace and hope, things are going to get a little nutty. So I'm here. I'm here for all of you, right? So this is going to be good news for you. It's going to be good news for your heart and your soul. But I mean, it's going to be, it's like when John was given that book, he was given some understanding of what was going to come. When he understood it, it was like sweet as honey in his lips. It was easy for him to get it out, but it was bitter. Bothered him in the belly, right? It's hard sometimes to take your medicine. And that's what everybody's, this is what's going on. You got to take your medicine, right? Been saying this for how long? Long time. Made me seem a little bit crazy to a lot of people. A lot crazy, right? I was taken very seriously, supposedly, I guess. And then I started saying, uh-oh, right? Uh-oh, you worry. Here's a big warning sign. It's like, and I told everybody. And then I followed up like a little while later with another essay back in 2015, September. 2015, and I wrote an essay called "A Warning Ignored." This is from a dream that I shared in it, which is like if you saw the last video, right? It was all about dreams and visions and everything else. I didn't really know exactly what I was supposed to share with all of you, but I couldn't get away from Nebuchadnezzar. I couldn't get away from the book of Daniel. Couldn't get away from it. And as I was going through, the week, kept coming back to me again and again and again and again. And then I was reminded by my buddy Mark, who had told me, didn't you have a dream where there was like a dome, there were like barricades everywhere? And I said, oh yeah, I did, but I thought that was in Israel. So the story goes, right? I did an essay called The Warning. This is from 2015. It was July. I think the essay was written on July 18th. And here's a quote from it. I said, I want to let you all know things are going to get much, much, much worse in the world. That's right. I'm talking like end of days worse. Earthquakes, massive flooding, famine, wildfires, war, disease, and more. Fun, right? Not at all. And neither is this essay. But I go into talking about how I have this really strange feeling that things are going to get very, very bonkers in a short period of time. And I was kind of criticized for it, because I was taken pretty seriously, and all of a sudden I started sounding like a fearmonger, right? This, by the way, was long before. It was just my essays, my biblical essays, and the stuff that I wrote, and I was still doing TV at the time. So I was reminded of the great King Nebuchadnezzar. And before I get into this stuff, because you have to understand everything about King Nebuchadnezzar and understand how it's directly linked. I mean, I feel like it's directly linked. I don't know. It just seems like the story's playing out to what's going on today and what's coming up by the inauguration, because there's a lot up in the air. There's a lot up in the air. A lot of people are still very concerned and very confused. A lot of threats, a lot of goofy, kooky things. Remember when the 6 came around, there was that veiled, we're gonna take revenge for the fact that you took out our leader. That was coming from the Middle East. That looped message that they heard, the FAA picked up, so there was all concern about everything else. And then, of course, we saw the stuff that went down. It's just, I mean, come on, people. I mean, how many times do I say to people, like, you can't do that stuff, right? You can't. And you can't get sucked into it. You can't get sucked into it at all. You can't let this, because if you do, then what ends up happening is then, the messed up people in the world, the evil people in the world, they have their way, because God can't protect you if you're not righteous, right? But he does correct those that he has a plan for. He does. He'll warn them. He said, hey, in an instant, I can take away your entire kingdom. I can take it away like that. And I can give it to anybody I want. I can give it to somebody who's even worse than you, right? But, if you humble yourself, it's what the prophet Daniel was saying to King Nebuchadnezzar. If you humble yourself, who knows? Who knows? Maybe your days will be prolonged and everybody will learn a lesson from it. So before I get into that, I want to tell you a little bit about King Nebuchadnezzar. This king, the king of Babylon, this great king. Nebuchadnezzar, you probably remember the name. It was the ship in the Matrix, which is quite allegorical if you think about it, right? Nebuchadnezzar was the ship that took Neo around. It wasn't a fun place to be. Nebuchadnezzar was nasty. Food was slop. It wasn't exactly that clean. I wouldn't do very well because I like to clean things. So you probably heard that, but there was this great king in Babylon named Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar has and he was a powerful guy, right? He was, best person to just be like Donald Trump, right? He would be a perfect picture of Nebuchadnezzar, a guy who's is a powerful, probably most powerful person in the world. But he also sort of, he talked about the God of Israel. He was good friends with, the God of Israel, supposedly. He also liked what he did. He was the guy who would say things like, am I not the one that made Babylon great? I made Babylon great? Wasn't that great? I made it great again. You could see it like it's almost playing out, which is interesting. So Nebuchadnezzar has this dream, and it's troubling him. He's he knows that there's something to it. So he asked his astrologers and his magicians and sorcerers, right, all the people. Just so you know, today that could be a pastor or a rabbi or an imam or a guru. Same kind of thing. It would be hey, can you interpret this dream for me, dudes? And so the guys are, they're okay, tell us the dream. And he's I can't remember the dream. I had the dream, it was on the tip of my tongue, I don't know. You got to tell me what the dream is. You tell me what the dream is, and then give me the interpretation, or I'll kill y'all. That's what he basically says. Because they're like, we can't do that. Nobody can do this. Nobody can come on here and just tell you do. Nobody, king, sorry, but nobody can do it. And he's like, you know what? Then I'm going to have to, what's the point? Then you're all lying to me. And I don't need you around because all this hocus pocus nonsense is going. I'm going to kill y'all. So word gets out to Daniel, who is a prophet. It's like this, somebody that served the one true living God. And he was known to be good with these dreams. He's kind of associated with dreams. Big deal, these dreams. So he hears about this, and Daniel's like, get me before the king. I want to try to dream on for size. That would be like the equivalent of like Donald Trump going on something and saying, hey, I got this dream. Somebody better tell me, or I'm going to put an end to all this nonsense. Daniel, knowing that he serves the one true living God, he gets before the king, and king, he tells the king everything there is to know. Talks about this great statue, right? It's like, looks like this great idol, and all these different, basically it would be like a life-size statue of, we'll say Nebuchadnezzar or whoever the ruler is, but there's different colors. Like, the top one was made of, the head was made of all gold. Then the next was part like silver. Then it goes down to like his feet that were like mixed with like clay and iron, and then like even the nails. And it's all symbolism. This great idol, right? And what happens is there's this one big smooth stone, and it's cast into the idol and destroys it in an instant. And then it's a symbol of God's kingdom being birthed in the world today. Daniel tells the king, yeah, it's different kingdoms. You're the gold. There's going to be a weaker kingdom after you. Then it's going to go all the way down to the end, where you have basically this intermingled bunch of like all these different, some strong and some clay, and I see it as kind of like things that don't mix, right? So you have all these people coming together, creating this world government, and none of them really don't mix, so they're not very strong. And what ends up happening is this great stone comes from the heavens and smashes into it. So he shows Nebuchadnezzar, this dream, and he reveals that it's different, all these different kingdoms starting with him. Of course, he's going to lose his kingdom at some point. We're going to find out. But at the end, the last kingdom, before it's destroyed, is this kingdom that we find ourselves in today. Isn't that interesting? And then here you have this smooth stone that David took in his hand, and smacked Goliath in the head with, which is all symbolic. Same thing, smooth stone. It's the power of truth going to be cast into the feet of this dream, this kingdom, this beast system. It's going to be dropped to the ground. And then the days of those kings, right, all these world leaders, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that shall never be destroyed, nor shall this kingdom be left to another people. It shall crush all of these other kingdoms and bring them to an end, and it shall stand forever, just as you saw that a stone cut from the mountain, not by hands. So in other words, this isn't about anybody's doing, right? Nobody's done this. Nobody's hewn out this stone from this mountain. It's all symbolic. The mountain is the mountain of God. Out of the mountain of God comes this smooth stone, which is Christ, which is the truth. And the stone that it crushed the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold. The great God has informed the king of what is going to be thereafter. That's where we are now. The dream is certain, and its interpretation is trustworthy. Now, why is this strange? Because that picture of that dream was in this essay that I wrote in 2015. Interesting. That's why this is so exciting, you all, because it's about the kingdom being planted in the earth. And it's about this beast system, which, it's just, you got so many people, right? It's not held together very strong. It's their bonds are pretty terrible. And it's a weak kingdom. And God's going to, in an instant, just break it down. Just as we're seeing everything going on in the world, here's have that instant breaking it down. This one smooth stone that comes from heaven. Say that could be an asteroid or a comet or something at all, some debris. Others could say it could be something else. I know it to be completely spiritual. I know it to be that. But we're going to see the literal played out in the world as well. So then here you have this picture of Nebuchadnezzar, this guy, this powerful guy that in an instant it looks like the whole world has turned against him. He's lost everything. It's brought down to like nothing. In an instant. Well, because he got hung up with some pride. You see, after he has his first dream, he understands God's real. He's like, wow, okay, you were right. I was going to be the leader. I was going to be the strong. I get it. I'm the head, right? I'm the golden head. Sound like anybody we know who's got a golden head? I'm not saying that Trump is Nebuchadnezzar, but here we are. We're talking about the story of Nebuchadnezzar being played out in the world. So King Nebuchadnezzar, he felt pretty special. Kind of like how, President Trump must have felt when all those rabbis from the Ukraine and, at the donors meeting before, they crowned him as the president of the United States, as king. And they all said, your name in Gematria means just like the Messiah. And he probably felt good. He probably like, yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, thank you so much for that interpretation. And Nebuchadnezzar says, thank you, praise your God, right? But he didn't take it too much to heart. This was in the second year of his reign, by the way, which is ironic because, around the second year of Trump's in office, it was around that time that he was telling people, I should be on the, remember when he did his speech there and he was all gold? Looked like a statue himself. It's interesting because that's exactly what Nebuchadnezzar did. Nebuchadnezzar made this huge portrait of himself, this great idol, and he basically told everybody, you got to worship me, and anybody who's against me, you're going to be thrown into the furnace. Now this is interesting because this is not just about a literal man. It's not about a literal man from years ago or a literal man now. It's about a system and the king of that system, and he was the king of Babylon. So you'd say, it's this spiritual system, and it's like if you don't worship that system, if you don't give it praise all the time, you're going to be thrown in the furnace. But, not everybody was like, I'm going to worship you. Not everybody's like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. A lot of people, really put their faith in more. They put their faith in God. Couple of them were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, which are friends of Daniel's. They were, word got out that they refused to worship, and Nebuchadnezzar, he was thrown in the furnace, and it was heated up like 7 times hotter, like the furnace that we're in. It's interesting, but those that are serving God, they're okay. He's like, if you want me to worship you, scaring me is not going to do the trick. Because I know that God's in charge. That's what Jesus said. Jesus said, you can't do anything to me unless God already put you up to it. And who am I to fight against God? Whatever God's will is, let it be done. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they end up surviving that furnace. And once again, Nebuchadnezzar is reminded of this God that he's supposed to serve. is, Nebuchadnezzar, although he acknowledged God and he made a big deal, right? He made a big deal about Israel, didn't he? Made Jerusalem, right? That new on the 70th anniversary did a lot for Israel. Brought in the Abraham Accords. This is not Nebuchadnezzar, but this is Donald Trump. So you see how the stories are almost intrinsically linked. It's insane. So time passes, and then Nebuchadnezzar has another terrible dream, and it's of this tree, this great tree that grows up. It's huge, and like everybody's under its wing, all the beasts of the field, they take shelter in it, just like, right, everybody put their faith in this system. Everybody, they latched their wagons, right? Everybody was connected to this great tree in the land, this tree that rose up, and it was so very big. Problem is pride. Nebuchadnezzar had a problem. He's quoted later as saying, "Am I not the one that made Babylon great?" We see another world leader, that he's like the best at everything. He's the best at everything. Not just that, his doctor said he's in the best health of everybody. He just passed away, by the way. He's the best president. Nebuchadnezzar's the best king. He's the best this. He's the best that. He loves the Bible more than anybody. And once again, God uses these people. I'm not saying that God didn't put Trump in charge. I did a whole video called The Trump Paradox where I explained very clearly it's obvious. So the question is Trump just like this figure, Nebuchadnezzar? Because in this dream, this terrible dream, which takes place in chapter 4, it's of this great tree. And then there was a messenger who came down and said, cut the tree down. Cut it down. Cut it down to the ground so that all the beasts, all the seeds, they scatter, all the branches are lopped off, everything that's connected to this great kingdom, it's kaput, but leave a root. Leave a root. Now what's interesting about this was just a little while ago, I saw a tree that had been cut down, and you could see the tree growing out of it. And I thought, how amazing is that? And it didn't remind me of the story that I'm telling you now, but as I was looking into this, and as I was continually led to Nebuchadnezzar's story, which I still haven't gotten to the crazy part. That's the thing. If you wait till the end, that's where the hair starts to go like this on the back of your hands and your neck. It's beautiful. So in other words, this kingdom's going to be brought to the ground. Because see, what ends up happening is finally Nebuchadnezzar, he acknowledged the God. He said, oh, it's the God of Jacob, sure, right? It would be like if Trump was a big fan of my videos or something and just took my advice or whatever, and then everything worked out. Everything worked out. But he doesn't have a relationship. Just like with Daniel, it's like the God of Daniel. Everybody got to serve them. Everybody got to serve the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego God. Because he knew that they had this, but he didn't have a relationship. He just thought he was one of the other gods. So he had to be lopped down. The kingdom had to be lopped down. He had to be made to be like a beast of the field. He had to basically have everything in a moment taken from him, stripped from him, robbed from him, so that he could humble himself. See, obviously the peril. I actually put this passage out on Twitter, and someone said harsh because they thought I was talking about Trump. But really, I'm talking about this kingdom, this Babylonian kingdom, which has fallen, by the way. And what I understand, the story is, it's not about whether or not everything's gonna, a new ruler is gonna take place. Because if that's the case, which it seems to be the case, right? Everybody keeps saying, I don't know why I still feel like I'm waiting for that big swerve. Maybe in the second you'll know why. But like he said, so you'll know that I'm God. I'll put any ruler I want, even somebody who's worse than you. That's why you got to humble yourself and you got to love God. Because if you do that, you're okay. Look at Daniel. Daniel was cool, right? Look at Joseph when his life was so hard, but then he ended up being, why? Because he interpreted a dream and he was faithful to God and he saw it through. So, here we are again, and I'm talking about a dream. Why? Because I feel like we're at that moment. I feel like that kingdom, that mixed kingdom, the one that doesn't really hold together, this world system, right? I feel like it's about to be, I really do. And I do believe that stone, and I'm not talking about anything physical here, people, so I want you to understand this is a spiritual thing. People are gonna be like, I've had it. I've had it with this thing. I can't trust any of you. And they're gonna understand that this system, there's no safety, there's no security in it. There's only gonna be safety and security in the things of God. And how do we know this? Well, because there are watchmen, as the scripture says, that are going to be revealing things, that are going to be saying things, that are going to be coming on here hoping to just simply do God's will, trying to make the world a better place, trying to show people that they must love, they must forgive, they must stop seeing others as their enemy. They need to see that the devil is a lie, right? So don't think the worst. Always think on these things, the scriptures say. Anything that's good, whatever's pure, whatever's righteous, whatever's kind and compassionate and patient. I mean, these are the things we should be thinking about. Wonderful things. Not stressed out. So stressed that you get sick, right? And you can't go into work because you're so burdened by it. Not like that. So in 2015, before the channel goes viral, before I get to meet all of you, I have this kooky dream. Now, I can thank Mark for this, my buddy, because, I couldn't get away from when Trump had said the calm before the storm. He said, maybe this is the calm before the storm. For some reason, that stuck with me when I was vacuuming. I was at work and I was vacuuming. And it stuck with me, the calm before the storm. And I started thinking, I'm like, this would be the storm. So that would be the calm before the storm. And I started thinking, what if there was some planning going on? What if there was some planning going on? Some future planning, right? And it looks like there was. That's right. There was a lot of executive orders and a lot of bills that were passed and a lot of things were put through. Back in September 12th, 2018, ironic, September 12th, September 11th. See, it's interesting. Executive order on imposing certain sanctions in the event of foreign interference in the United States election. Now, once again, I'm not saying anything. I'm not talking about this or that. I'm just saying facts here. I don't take either side. I don't care who rules. I'm not a fan of anybody who thinks that they're the greatest, that they're the ruler, that they're better than another. I like to serve the Lord God. And one of the things that God says to do is, he puts the people in power. So follow the rules. If you follow the rules, you're going to be treated okay, even if you're not treated okay. Because let's face it, right? Jesus did say, they hated me, they'll hate you. But when that kingdom comes to the earth, when that rock hits the miry clay, and it's an everlasting kingdom, nothing can stop it. So why am I not telling you all about that? Why am I getting so many people so spooked out? I just said, it's only a couple of years, right? We're going to be saved out of it. This time of trouble, it's like 3.5 years. It's not that we can make it, especially if we're serving God. These things that were put in place. And then, of course, just, what was it? I don't know, last night or the night before, another executive order goes through on amending Executive Order 13959, addressing the threat from security investments that finance the, oh God, right? The red dragon. Anybody who's doing business with the dragon, the powerful dragon that puts the beast in power, right? Okay, but anybody who's doing business with that could be a problem. That could be a problem. And now we find out what? We find out that he went through this impeachment, but it looks like this was pre-planned. So a lot of people are saying, some people are saying, oh, well, you just impeached him without due process, it was rushed through. I mean, all these things, I don't know. I'm not a legal expert. I could care less in the grand scheme of things. I care that people are hurting each other. I care that people are not putting their faith in God and not understanding that in an instant, if there's a kingdom that God wants down, he can take it down. And if he wants to rebuild it in an instant, he'll rebuild it. God will do it. God does these things, right? This is why Daniel was saying to Nebuchadnezzar, if you hear me, if you humble yourself, perhaps your enjoyment can continue. You can continue to be happy and rule. Because if this isn't the case and you don't repent, it's going to be taken away from you. It's going to be ripped away from you. Now, I want to make a point too about that. That bottom part of this idol that is destroyed was it was potter's clay. Isn't that interesting? Mixed with, so if you think about it, we're clay, because this is all about us mixed with this. So it doesn't mix. There is those that are being made in the image of God, and the world, it doesn't mix. Wheat and tares in the beginning, they grow up together. You don't really know the difference. But the problem is, if you rip the tares out too soon, you can destroy the wheat. You got to wait till they mature so you can know that it's better to love than to hate. I'm asking all of you, I hope all of you that watch, I hope you all just stay home. When this thing happens, the inauguration, when it goes down, just stay home. Not because I have this, feeling of dread that something might happen. I don't want to say that. This dream that I had that I'm about to share, it may sound that way. I'm hoping it's spiritual in meaning, but I'm saying stay home. Stay home. You don't need to do it. Trust in God. It's not by the works of man. This messed up kingdom is not brought down by man's hands. It's brought down by the stone that is cut from the great mountain, the word of truth that has come from the heart of God and cast into this kingdom. And it's a word. It's a spoken word. And so it happened to Nebuchadnezzar. And so it could happen to President Trump. And perhaps it has. Unless, of course, all of this goes back to my dream where I had, I was carrying Trump into. If you haven't seen, just watch the last video. And I didn't understand because it looked like he was dead, like right now. It looks like, his power's gone. He was dancing along next to me and I thought maybe he's in on it, right? But maybe I got that wrong. Maybe, that's the thing is I don't know. Maybe it's God's way of showing even the president that, even though you may be losing your power right now, it's going to restore you. It's going to restore you back to your glory. Spiritually speaking, I could care less if he's the president. I could care less. I got my feelings about where I think things are going. I'm keeping my lips tight just in case, because words have power, right? So I'd like to change the narrative, and I'd like to remind everybody of the power that is coming. Now, let's get to the dream. So you'll see here, that's the temple. That's this is the picture I chose. So I have this dream, and I'm standing in this area, and it was like this open area, and it was very nice. But there were these all of these like barriers, these black barriers. They were like all bars, like it was. And thousands of people were outside and they were all raucous and they were outside and they were so excited. They really wanted to go see the presentation. The presentation that was taking place behind me, which all I knew was there was a big dome behind me. That's it. So the only dome that I knew of in the dream, I thought, well, I'll tell you, I thought it was maybe the dome in Iraq. And I thought that this had to do with Israel. I didn't know. I just knew that there was a dome behind me. I knew where I was. And thanks to Mark, now it's ironic, because I looked at this picture. And I go, my goodness, that could be where I was standing some 5 years ago in this dream that I had, by the way, exactly 2 years from the Revelation 12 sign. The September 23rd, 2017, the Revelation 12 sign. Exactly 2 years I have this dream. And I'm standing there. And everybody's excited. They're going to see Harry Potter 3, Prisoner of Azkaban, which is interesting. I don't know why that was important, but true story. I've literally, like, this dream, I should say, haunted me. It's on my website. I wrote about it. It's back in 2015. And I've been like, I Google Israel and Harry Potter a lot just to see, just to see what's going on. So much so I can tell you that there have been Israel's issues with J.K. Rowling's. There's been a lot of stuff. I can tell you that, like, Harry Potter's, like, buried there or something, supposedly. And I can tell you there's a lot of stuff because over the years I've looked. But what if it had nothing to do with it? I just knew it was a holy site. And ironically, now I think I understand, it was also connected to Nebuchadnezzar, which is why I shared the picture of Nebuchadnezzar, this one. In the dream, okay, I was shown this great, gigantic golden statue, which reminded me of that. And then I was told, Laish, which in the dream I was told it means lion. So this great gigantic idol that everyone considered a lion. That sounds a little familiar to me, right? So at one point in the dream, the guardrails come down and everybody starts rushing in. Now I'd forgotten my wallet, so I'm leaving. And somebody that I know who has been with the channel a long time, is in the dream, was a friend of mine in real life too, outside of YouTube, and came up to me, and he was with somebody else I didn't know who had a laptop. And in the laptop, it was like you opened it up and it looked like it was all bubbling and was red, and it looked like something bad, right? And they were bringing it in. And the guy next to me said, "Oh, dude, it's a bong." And I go, "That doesn't look like a bong to me." That doesn't look like that looks like something that's gonna, that's pretty bad. The guy tells me, who's carrying this, he says, "It's the new Sussman." And then they walk away. So I wake up, and of course, me, because dreams are a big deal to me, I look all this stuff up. I immediately, like 2 days later, I write an essay because this dream really was just so interesting to me. I knew that it was a future that I was seeing. I just didn't know what I was seeing. I didn't witness any terrible explosion or anything else, but there was the concern that this is, something that was a laptop disguised to look like a, laptop, but it was actually a, what I mean? It was not a good thing. So I'm searching, and I type in the word Sussman, and I type in laptop, and ironically enough, a year before I had that dream, there was this girl named Lily Sussman who had a laptop, and it was shot up by the military. And it was like, here's a picture of it. Because they thought that it was a bomb. A laptop bomb. They thought it was, and it was shot up, and it was like, I guess it was in the Jerusalem Post or something. But I was like, that's really weird. Because here's somebody in my dream that has this thing that looks like a laptop that looks like a bomb, and the guy says it's the new Sussman. Needless to say, I've been concerned. I've been concerned about this. But in the dream, I saw the idol was overlooking all of Israel. This idol, this Laish, this lion, this great lion was overlooking all of Israel, and that's why I assumed. But, thanks to Mark, who kind of reminded me of that dream that I had a long time ago. Strange, right? Strange. So strange. Could have been, maybe I was standing at the Capitol. Because, this never really looked like it, but that was the only thing I could think of, and that kind of looks like the Capitol. Just saying. I just knew that I said in the dream it looked like a holy site, and it really was. The new Sussman. So there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of concern. How many troops, right? All these videos popping up. Troops over here, troops over there. Oh, look at the... and it's just like it's getting everybody to be scared and everybody to feel like they got to be on the front. Nobody shows up. Nobody shows up. That's, you know what I mean? Like, and if something goes away that you don't like, just step back and just say, the Lord's in charge. I'm sure Jesus wasn't too thrilled when he knew that he had to give his life for everybody. He wasn't too thrilled, but he said, you can't do this to me unless God puts you up to it. So, I mean, what am I going to do? Not my will, Lord, but yours. Story of Nebuchadnezzar, whether it's the story of Donald Trump or not, it is one that we need to heed. Because in the story, he does become like a beast. And I don't want you to become like a beast, you know? Like, I don't want it, you know, and Daniel didn't want it either. It wasn't like he was a big fan of the guy. Nebuchadnezzar wasn't exactly a righteous, holy man. Didn't really say whether or not, but he's like, please, hopefully this dream is about your enemies and not you. Because you're gonna like lose everything in an instant. But if you repent, if you say, you know what, Lord, change my heart, let me serve the people, let me be a righteous leader. Because that's what ends up happening in the end. Nebuchadnezzar sees that it is the Lord that gives and the Lord that takes away. It is God who blesses and God who curses. It's the Lord that does all of these things. So serve the Lord and you're going to be okay. Love your enemies, even your enemies, as God loves you. Because in so doing, it's like a restoration of your own soul. We got to forgive, we got to be kind, and we got to understand that the old world is gone. There's a new world, there's a new earth, there's a new heaven, and we're entering into it. It's a new day, it's a new dawn, it's a new life. Isn't that a song? So when that period of judgment was over for Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar lifted his eyes. It's very symbolic of when you lift your eyes, you're putting your sights on more than yourself. And we all could do that. And my reason returned to me. He started to realize, he's like, oh yeah, that's right, that God. It's time to serve that God. It's not to be corrupt anymore. And I blessed the Most High, and I praised and I honored the one who lives forever. And his sovereignty is an everlasting sovereignty, and his kingdoms endure from generation to generation. All the inhabitants of the earth are accounted as nothing, and he does what he wills with the host of heaven and the inhabitants of the earth. There is no one that can stay his hand or say to him, what are you doing? What's going on here, Lord? Nobody can say this. Nebuchadnezzar says, at that time my reason returned to me, and my majesty and my splendor were restored. When you start to serve God, when your reason returns to you, your splendor and your majesty, it's restored. And the glory of my kingdom, my counselors and my Lord sought me out. I was reestablished over my kingdom. Why? Because he humbled himself. And he remembered the Lord. And for the first time, after seeing everything that was taken from him, the Lord gives it back to him. Because he is going to now serve God. Now, I can't say the same for his kids. We'll get into that another day. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol the honor the King of heaven. For all his works are truth, and his ways are justice, and he is able to bring low those who walk in pride. And we can say that if perhaps pride wasn't an issue, you'd have it back. So I'm just saying, you know, for all of you who are watching, whoever you may be, praise God, seek the truth, and live for more, because there is more. That kingdom is established right now. Isn't that cool? I love each and every one of you so very much. I'm so glad that you spent some time with me. This is really a wonderful thing. By the way, teach me the truth, right? No matter what the cost. Noah's design, right? The slogan that's been on the channel forever. Well, since 2008, because it was the prayer that I prayed when, ironically, I was a young man and I was in the AOL chat. I was like, who can help me? I want to know the truth. I know there's more. Someone must have it. And there was someone named Cyrus Has Risen. This is a true story. Cyrus has risen. And he asked me if I ever asked for the truth, no matter what the cost. That's where that prayer came from. Some random guy named Cyrus has risen. And now here we are today. And we got literally Cyrus rose. Cyrus rose. He's on the coin. Strange. Teach me the truth about what the cost. Here's what's cool. One of the family members here on the channel sends me this video. I guess they were on Instagram, and in their feed, all of a sudden, an Instagram Teespring ad popped up. And guess whose shirt was showcased? Take a guess. That's right, this shirt. And it was ironic, right? Because it was the very first thing you see in blue, royal. Teach me the truth no matter what the cost. And then they showed a lot of other shirts. And ironically, the last shirt in the sequence was the devil. How crazy is that? So you see, here's teach me the truth. And then all these other shirts, they progressively got worse all the way down to the devil. The devil was last. Just saying. I think that's cool. I think it's fair. I think when you ask for the truth, you rise to the top. But if you seek in the devil, you're going to be at the bottom. You don't want to deal with the bottom. Trust me. You want to get into the kingdom. I love you all, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching Jacob Israel. Please hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, and share this channel around. If these shows have helped you, help Jacob to reach more any way you can, and have the best day ever.